In our first episode, we explored why African institutions and African governments have sought to take greater ownership of peacekeeping on the continent. But the ambition for Africa-led peace support is not enough. In this episode, we turn to the promise, the prospects, and the peril of Africa-led peace support operations, asking whether this vision can deliver in today's rapidly changing peace and security landscape.
When we do have the inevitability of a conflict involving non-state actors who are like the Boko Harams, the ISIL in the Sahel, or the AUSSOM, then you need the kind of interventions that the EU have been doing. The EU has the political will, the ownership and the legitimacy, and we have the expertise to do so.
Peace support is not for those who are impatient. It unfolds over years, sometimes decades, in environments where success is difficult to measure and easy to overlook.
The EU has been in Somalia since 2007. The UN has been in the DRC since forever. And if a conflict is long drawn, people get tired, donors get fatigued.
In long-running conflicts, even a single failure can define the narrative.
You can manage to stop Al-Shabaab 99 times out of 100. But if they succeed in one time, and the international news will not be interested in the fact that Somalia has been stable for the last few years.
Over time, African states and the African Union have built great conflict expertise that can only come from sustained engagement on the ground. This has made the AU more than just a junior partner to the UN. It is a principal partner in peace and security governance, and the AU's ability to deploy rapidly in high-risk environments contrasts sharply with the UN's slower processes.
The AU and the REX, they have been deploying closer to 30 peace support operations in the past. There is this political resolve from the African regional actors and continental actors to provide timely and rapid response as the conflicts emerge.
Again and again, African-led peace support operations encounter the same challenge, securing reliable funding. Institutionally, the AU and the UN are meant to cooperate on peace support operation financing. But the AU's capacity to actually do its job has been constrained by financial fragility.
And what has been a very cross-cutting challenge, more or less in most of this operation, was the lack of financing. We have seen missions that were closed prematurely or that were transitioned or rehatted into United Nations missions. We are seeing a mismatch between the ambition and the critical limitation in terms of the enabling resources.
This gap between ambition and resources is not abstract. It can be seen clearly in current missions on the ground. AUSSOM, the African Union mission supporting Somalia's stabilization, requires roughly $196 million per year. But by late 2025, pledges covered only about a quarter of that amount, leaving a major funding gap. And almost $94 million remain unpaid from the previous mission. In late 2023, the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 2719, opening the door for UN-assessed contributions to support African Union-led peace support operations. No AU mission has yet received funding under the 2719 framework.
I think we must not forget that the UN has global responsibility for peace and security across the world. The language of the resolution is that on a case-to-case basis, AU may have access to UN-assessed contribution. All the big powers in the council, they actually wanted it to be used in Somalia, but America said no for some political reasons. So that is without prejudice to it being used in some other theater. If the African Union were to decide today that they want to go into Sudan, I suspect we will have access to UN access contribution based on 2719.
What do you think is the best approach in terms of Resolution 2719? What are the challenges around it?
When it comes to its actual implementation as we speak, we see three sets of challenges. The first one is, and perhaps the much more evident one, is the political level challenge in terms of the resistance that we are seeing to have the resolution applied from one of the P5. At the same time, there are also technical challenge or implementing the roadmap for the operationalization of 2017-19. As we speak, we are also seeing a challenge, the liquidity crisis at the United Nations. So we have these three different sets of challenge, but what we are currently hearing, Resolution 2017-19, and the financing frameworks that introduce has become part and parcel of the current response toolbox to be used whenever they are appropriate.
But in practice, African-led peace support operations still rely on a patchwork of funding sources, from European Union support and voluntary contributions to limited UN backing. This fragmented system continues to expose a gap in the international financing of peace and security. And then there's the geopolitical factor.
Priorities are changing. European Union was a big, huge supporter of the mission in Somalia. But given what is happening in the world today, that is changing. They are reprioritizing the support they are giving to the African Union. In the last 2 years, we've not been able to pay our troops in Somalia because we've not been able to have dedicated funding to pay those guys there.
With Resolution 2719, the debate over financing entered a new phase. The resolution opened the door to the possibility of more predictable financing for African Union-led peace support operations through UN-assessed contributions. But financing is not only a technical question. It is also deeply political, raising fundamental questions about burden sharing, African ownership, and the global responsibility to maintain international peace and security. What future peace support operations might look like and who will carry that responsibility remains an open question.